Hello. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Rich Wall Street Williams here, and we're going to do some more, having another conversation about the elementary basics of objection handling. And I'm super excited. I'm so glad that you carved out some time this afternoon to join me in this brief conversation on overcoming objectives. And I could say from a sales perspective, the number one area in my sales career that I saw the largest amount, I don't know if that's grammatically correct, largest amount, where I saw the greatest increase, and that was in the area of handling objection, right? How to handle objections. Imagine this: if you were in school and your teacher, she was going to give you a test. And before she gave you the test, she gave you a second piece of paper and she said, "Hey, class, the first piece of paper is the test. The second piece of paper are the answers." Let me ask you a question. What's your stress level like? Is it high or low? What's your confidence like? Is it high or low? It's safe to assume that your confidence is going to be high and your stress level is going to be low. Why? Because you have the answers to the test. You have the answers to the test. So it's my intention. We're going to go through this together. Feel free to comment below if you want to. I'm broadcasting this out. I'm on LinkedIn, on Facebook, we're on Twitter. This is on the YouTube channel, and at the end, I'll share with you how you can connect with me on those platforms. So, objection handling, the elementary basics of handling the objections. Um, you know, as I shared, this probably was the number one area for my success. A little bit about me. My name is Rich Williams. I've been in the sales profession for oh man, I would say, oh my goodness, it's since 2002. So I've been in the sales profession for 20 years. Right, I first started out, and what I refer to as the real sales profession is in 2002. I'm originally from York, Pennsylvania. I got a real estate license. A friend of mine, John Wigga, I think John is in Florida now, but John, and he's still in real estate. How about that? So John said, "Hey, Rich, I think." Shout out, John, if you're watching this video. Thank you so much, sir, for the early encouragement to get into the real estate field. So John said, "Rich, I think you'll be good in real estate." So I took a shot at it, took the test, and then I didn't pass. I took the test, and then I passed on a second try. And I will never forget the feeling that I had when I passed the test. And I walked up to my manager. I'm feeling confident. I'm feeling, I got this young guy and this young mindset. I'm going to take over the world, right? Walk up to my manager and I say, "Hey, I want to be number one in this office. What do I have to do?" She said, "Well, I want you to get connected with the mentor and do everything that he says." And my mentor at the time was Mr. Mike Bear. So Mike was very instrumental in terms of the sales part. But here's the point that I'm making. The point that I'm making is that um, I was hungry in sales, and I did well in sales. My first 2 years, my first year, I went from being in the bottom to the top three. My first year in real estate. My second year in real estate, I'm winning production. I'm selling 4, 5, 6 homes a month. I'm getting sales productions, sales award for production, number of units sold, volume, etc. And I went on to coaching 2 offices and training real estate business development follow up. But here's the point. The point is all of that sales, I didn't really know how to handle objection. And then somewhere around 2000 and I don't know, somewhere around 2007, 2008, when I learned how to handle objection, my sales career is skyrocketed. And so today I'm going to share with you 4 things. Number one, I'm going to share with you know the difference between a stall, objection, and a condition. Number two, the 3 different techniques as it relates to handling an objection. Again, it's like having the answers to the test. And then I'll share with you 7 quick awarenesses as it relates to objection handling. And then finally, I'll share with you the objection handling track. This objection handling track is probably my favorite number one track to follow as it relates to handling objections. Okay. There's an 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule simply says that 80% of the wealth is earned or controlled by 20% of the population. There was an economist, and I can't remember his name, in the 1800s, I think it was, and he came up with this 80-20 principle, and he found in his research that 80% of results were coming from 20% of the work. 20% of the focus produces 80% of the results. And so, from a real estate perspective, until you and I get real good at handling objections, we're dividing up that 20%. I mean, yeah, we're dividing up that 20%. 20% of the sales professionals are generating 80% of the wealth. That means that 80% of the sales professional are competing or fighting for 20% that's left. A lot of stress, strain, and struggle, right? Just to get a piece of that pie. If it was five of us, four of us competing for it, that means that I'm going to share 5% till I get real good. 5% is all I'm going to handle. That's all I'm going to get till I get good at handling objections. This is how much money I'm going to be walking away. I'm going to be dividing that 20% with the other four individuals. So there's five of us. One of us is going to take 80%, and then the remaining four, we're going to divide up that 20 by 5%. This is how much money I'm going to make until I get good at handling objection. Listen, let me just be real transparent for a minute. I mentioned the success that I've had at the beginning, but what I didn't tell you about some of the failures that I had. It's not good. It wasn't a comfortable feeling. I remember around 2008, 2007, 2008, the real estate bubble, right? The real estate market burst. And here I am selling 3 homes, 4 homes, 5 homes, and now we go from that to selling just a few homes. It was a financial strain on me and my family. It was a financial strain. Money was hard for me at that time. So I learned during those lean times. And when you learn during lean times, it'll help you appreciate the fat times, right? The wealthy, the prosperous times. So I learned somewhere around 2008, 2009. You know what, Rich? If you're going to be good in sales, hey, man, you're going to have to get real good at objection handling, right? And so here's the first thing I want to share with you, and that's the 3 keys to successfully handling objection. Understand this, number one, that objection handling helps you understand what you're up against, right? And then the other key is learning the 7 awarenesses. The 7 awarenesses about objection handling. And then how to handle objection. These are 3 keys to keep in mind as we go on this journey together. So let's break down the definition of a stall, an objection, an objection, and a condition. So the definition of a stall is what a prospect says to hide for whatever reason, the real reason they do not feel they should make a decision. So the prospect hits you with a stall. The most common stall we hear in sales is, hey, I want to think it over. It doesn't matter if you're selling real estate, if you're selling paper, you're selling software, you're selling computers, you're selling staffing services. It doesn't matter, right? There's a common stall. It sounds good. Rich, I appreciate you stopping past my office. My office today sounds really good. Let me think it over. That's something that your prospect is telling you, because they want to hide behind whatever reason they feel as though they shouldn't make a decision today. What's your job? Your job is to find that reason, right? Sometimes in sales, you got to be a little pushy, just a little bit. You got to push just a little bit. You got to push just a little bit, right? You got to keep working at this, keep practicing, keep learning your craft, understand the process of the sale till you get to a point where you are confident. You're consciously confident, and when you're confident and competent, it's only because you practice, drill, and rehearse. When you're confident and competent as it relates to objection handling, it's only because you practice, drill, and rehearse. And I'm gonna carve out some time on practice, drilling, rehearsing. As a matter of fact, I'm so excited for my real estate friends. Next week, I'm going to do some live phone calls. I'm going to talk about how to sell by owners and expired listings to my realtor friends. I'm going to share some tips that I've learned over the years, how to successfully sell for sale by owners and expired listings. As a matter of fact, 90% of my 90% of the properties that I sold in my career were either for sale by owners or expired listing. So the first was a stall. The second is an objection. Definition of an objection is the real reason they do not feel they should make a decision today. Now, the stall was a real reason they feel as though they should make a decision. This is the real reason they feel they should not make a decision today. They feel like they shouldn't make a decision today. What's your goal? Your goal is to change their feelings. And then, of course, there are conditions. The real reason they cannot make a decision. And a condition would be if I'm selling staffing services and I'm having a conversation with, let's say, I don't know, the director of HR, and she says, "I appreciate your staff and pass, but I need to connect, and I need to have my senior VP sign off on this. Oh, by the way, this is just a thought, just a note, footnote. Uh, I only want to sell to decision makers." I only want to have conversations with decision makers. Now, that sounds a little arrogant. I do understand that. Arrogant. I do understand that. But I want you to understand that I'm in the business of helping people, and I need to connect with the person. Um, I need to connect with the person that really feels and sees the value in what they offer or the system that I'm bringing to the table, right? But a condition is the real reason they can't make a decision. If I was selling real estate and it was an estate property and I meet with one of the heirs, well, he or she can't make a decision until the other heirs sign off on the contract. That's a condition. All conditions can be handled during the investigative stage. What's the investigative stage? Listen, before I offer you a proposal or a solution, I need to understand your challenge. Before I offer a solution, before I offer a resolution, before I offer what I think is the answer, I need to first understand the challenge, because here's the reality. The reality is that my solution may not fit your challenge, but the conditions are handled during the investigative stage. I hope this is making sense. Drop a 1 in the comments below if this is making sense. I'd like to see that. Thank you so much. I see that. Thank you. I'd appreciate that if it's making sense. So here's one of the techniques that I want to share with you today as it relates to objection handling. This is called the what is it technique. What is it technique. You know, if I was selling real estate and I'm talking to the person that wants to list the house, I do my presentation. The person says, "Rich, I appreciate you. I certainly appreciate you stopping past my house. Your presentation is probably the best we've seen so far this week. But I need to think about it. I want to think it over." Then you want to hit them with the what is it technique. What is it? Is it the price? Now watch this. You let them answer. You don't answer, right? What is it? Is it the price? And let the seller answer. No, I'm okay with $100,000 or $500,000 list price, whatever it is. What is it? Is it the net? Is it how much money you make after we sell it? Oh no, I'm okay with netting $75,000. But what is it? Is it the terms? See, I'm going through this. What is it? Is it? See, I can't handle the objection until I know what the objection is. I need to isolate, and then I need to handle. I need to first have to isolate, then handle, and then close. Right? What is it? Is it the price? Is it the net? If I'm selling staffing services, what is it? Is it the price? Right? What is it? Is it the fees? Is it the length of the contract? What is it? Is it our process? And if you get real bold, I throw myself in it. What is it? Is it me? Or is it my company? Right? You see what I'm saying? So this is the technique. It's called what is it? Is it? So the next time you're in a selling situation, you're having that selling dialogue, you're having that selling conversation, and the person hits you with the stall, I want to think it over. I want you to say, what is it? Is it the price? Is it the term? Is it the contract? Is it my company? Is it me? Is it me? Right? It's called the what is it? Is it? This is just the general verbiage that I suggest you consider. By the way, if you're interested in the PDF version of this PowerPoint, just comment in the section below. If you're on LinkedIn, just comment in the section below. I'll make sure you get it. I'll create a link and I'll send it out to you. You watch this on Facebook, just comment below. If you're on YouTube, just the same way, just comment or send me an email, and I'll make sure that you get it. Here's a dialogue that I use typically with what is it isn't. I can appreciate you wanting to think it over. I would too if I had any unanswered questions. And I surely don't want you to do anything. I surely don't want you to do anything that you're uncomfortable with. What is it? Is it the price? And then you go through what I showed you. Now, sometimes, right? You go through that and they still say no. They still say no. So what do? I'm glad you say that, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. Usually when we get to this point, there's usually three reasons why my customers aren't comfortable moving forward. May I share with you those three reasons? They say yes, go ahead. And that's called, I'm jumping out just a little bit, but that's called permission-based selling. See, I'm asking for your permission. You're saying yes, move forward. Psychologically, I know that you are lowered that objection wall just a little bit by you giving me permission to take the next step in the process. See, I love this psychology of sales, right? So it's a choice of three. It's a choice of three. Another technique. Choice of three. Mr. and Mrs. Seller. Usually when I get to this point in the presentation or in a conversation or in a meeting and my customers are uncomfortable moving forward, usually it's one or three reasons. May I share those reasons with you? Go ahead, Rich. Number one, it's a money issue. Number two is a timing issue. Now, sometimes I entertain timing with not convinced of something. Sometimes they're not convinced of something. Now this is dramatic. This is the dramatic effect, the emotional impact in the conversation. And sometimes, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, they just don't trust me. Which of these three is it for you? Now, I want you to imagine that you have a gut gauge. And the gut gauge measure how gutsy your questions are. The gut gauge measures your boldness. When the gut gauge is over here on a scale of 1 to 10, this is about a 2, it's low. This is a 5, we're getting progressive. Anything that's a 7 to a 10 is in the green. So when you say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, usually when I get to this point in the conversation and my customers are still hesitant about moving forward, I've found that usually there's one of three things. May I share those three things with you? They say yes, permission-based selling. Number one, it's a money issue. Number two, it's a timing issue. Watch this, gut gauge. Number three, they just don't trust me. Which one is it for you? Bing, bing, bing. See, we're over here in that. Right? We're over there. And then what if they do say no? The last shot at it. Listen, so I'd rather have you say no to me now than to regret saying yes later. Let's pretend you did say no. What would you be saying no to? See, I'm taking 2 or 3 shots at it, right? This opportunity to get in front of a decision maker from a selling perspective, right? From a selling perspective, this is a golden opportunity. I don't know how many phone calls you and I made to get to this point. I don't know how many emails we made to get to this point. I don't know how many times we knocked on the door, we stopped past, we dropped off some information. I don't know how many times we sent an article of value. I don't know how many times you did that. You did those activities to get to this point. And so this opportunity to me is golden. So I'm not going to just walk away from this opportunity. I'm not just going to walk away. I'm not going to give up lightly. I'm going to push, or nudge just a little bit because I appreciate and I value this moment. I hope this is making sense to you, right? I value this opportunity. I value this opportunity. So here are some of the awarenesses as relates to objection handling. Awareness number one is non-scientific. Rich says, that's me. Do something as opposed to nothing. What you show is less important than doing something. I'll never forget years ago, I was coaching a young sales professional, and so he and I were working together, and I was showing him how to handle objection, how to do the contract, how to present the at this particular time it was in real estate, how to present the listing contract to a seller. So I went on the listing appointment with me. It was his first one. He wanted me to go with him. I don't mind. I said, listen, I'm going to be a silent partner. You're going to do all the work. We got there. We went through the listing presentation. I'm watching him do his listing presentation. I'm saying, man, he's doing a great job. Then he got to the number part. And the person said, hey, so let's talk about net. How much will I net, and what's the cost of marketing your house? He said, oh, okay. And then he started writing some stuff down. And I got to tell you, I'm pretty good with numbers, but I got lost. I didn't know what he was writing on that piece of paper. We went outside. He got the listing agreement, right? We went outside. We got in the car. He was so happy. I said, hey, great job. I said, by the way, what the heck were you writing on that paper? He said, I had no idea. I have no idea. I just started writing something. So that's what I learned. Do something as opposed to doing nothing. What you show is less important than doing something. So you got to tell them and show them at the same time. The second awareness that I want to share with you, friend, about objection handling is that handle objections only when necessary. Sometimes you handle objections before they occur. It's called frequently asked questions sheet. Post it on your website. Send it out to your customers in advance. Send it out. Make it part of your pre-meeting package. Send it out to them in advance. Don't have frequently asked questions on it, right? So when you get to the meeting, you may not have to handle those objections because it's in your frequently asked question package. So you handle them before. You can handle objections later on in the process or as they occur, and sometimes never. Sometimes never. The third awareness that I want to share with you is that there are 300 million people, roughly 300 million people in the U.S., and that means there are potentially 300 million reasons why someone won't use us, right? Won't select us, won't buy our product, won't use our service, etc. So because there are 300 million people, there's potentially 300 million reasons why, or OHT, objection handling techniques or tracks, are used to change people. OHTs, or objection handling tracks, are used to change people's feelings when they want to procrastinate. There may be 300 million different people, but all these 300 million people, I'm going to take them through the same process. I'm going to use an objection handling track, an OHT, an objection handling track. Most OHTs don't work most of the time, but they all work some of the time. So you need to have a whole bunch, right? You need to have a lot. In your sales profession, in your industry, from a selling, and I'm speaking specifically to sales professionals, right? Or people that are writing proposals, and you have to deal with objections, right? I want you to think about, in your industry, what are the top 3, 4, or 5 reasons that prospect or customers in your industry are saying no? And then what I would do is, in advance, I will sit down, I will look at those 3, 4, or 5 reasons, and then I will come up with at least 2 different ways to handle that one objection. I want to think about it. Well, you can hit them with the what is it, or you can hit them with the choice of 3. See, that's 2 dialogue tracks for that one objection. Am I making sense? So in your industry, what are the top 3, 4, 5 objections that you hear? And then I will take a little bit of time and I would sit down. I'll say, okay, here's the first one. And then I would think of 2 or 3 word tracks, scripts, dialogues that I can have with that particular objection. I hope this is making sense. I'm telling you, this, by me doing this took my career to the next level. The attempt will get you further than the actual OHT, just doing something, again, as opposed to doing nothing. Reason number 6, I just shared with you 3 for each, right? 3 for each. And this 500 is batting average. If you were a professional baseball player and you had a batting average of 500, you more than qualify for the Hall of Fame. In baseball, if you're batting somewhere around .333, which means you're hitting the ball 1 out of 3 times up at bat and you're getting on the base, that's a pretty good batting average. You're on your way to being MVP or being an all-star. So it's the same way with objection handling. Each objection, try to have 2 or 3 different responses. Awareness number 7 is not the OHT that handles the track, handles the objection. It's the track. It's not the technique, OHT, objection handling technique. It's the track, is what we say. And then you have to be visual, right? You have to be visual. With this technique, I always show them and tell them at the same time. I always show them and tell them at the same time. Never tell them anything unless you can show them and tell them what you are sharing with them as it relates to the reason to move forward. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here it is, the objection handling track. This is my, by far, number one favorite objection handling track. Listen, I have to give credit to where credit is due. I did not think of this. I learned this in my old days of Sweat Hogs. How many people watching this remember Sweat Hogs? Floyd Wickman started Sweat Hogs back in the early 1980s, right? And so I learned this track in Sweat Hogs. So I didn't think of this. I learned this in Sweat Hogs, and they taught me the objection handling track. An objection handling track looks something like this. So, and I see this in my head every single time. First of all, you look at the left side, you got this 5-step, step-by-step process. It's a step-by-step process. What is it? It's a step-by-step process, right? It's not spontaneous. It's not haphazard. It's not off the cuff. It is a step-by-step process. This track is a step-by-step process divided into 3 areas. What you call it, what's the objective, and what's the possible dialogue. So here we go. Person wants to think it over. It's a cushion. Step 1 is the cushion. Step 2 is the question. Step 3 is the isolate. Step 4 is the handle. Step 5 is the close. Cushion, question, isolate, handle, close. Anytime I hear an objection in my head, automatically, in my subconscious, automatically, I go through cushion, question, isolate, handle, close. Cushion, question, isolate, handle, close. I want to think about a rich cushion. So the objective of the cushion is to show that you're not going to argue with them. I can appreciate how you feel. So here's the power of these words. I want you to imagine that the person that you're talking to, the person that you're making your proposal to, I want you to imagine them being a balloon full of air, in a positive way, of course. And every time you ask a question, and specifically ask an open-ended question, and you get them talking, you're slowly deflating the balloon. I want you to visualize that. Right? So, hey, Rich, I appreciate you stopping past. Great information, but let me sleep on it for a night or two. Cushion. I can appreciate how you feel. Step 2, the question. Now the question is finding out what I have to handle, right? Just to clarify my thinking, here it is, an open-ended question: who, what, when, where, and why. Sometimes how. Who, what, when, where, and why, and sometimes how. I want to think it over. Just clarify my thinking. You did like yes. So what is it that you want to think over? Or when do you plan on making a decision? So it doesn't matter. Ask an open-ended question: who, what, where, when, why, and sometimes how. The third step in the process is to isolate. I love the isolation. Make sure it's the only thing. And then you do a trial close. I don't have time to talk about a trial close. We'll do it in another, maybe next week we'll touch on some trial closes. But I don't have time to get into trial closes right now. What I will share with you, well, I can't share it now, time doesn't permit, but I have a 10 top closes in a selling conversation, right? So isolate. Make sure it's the only thing that you have to handle, then the trial close. So is that the only thing? So I'm just curious. So the person says, I want to think about it. Let me sleep on this, Rich, a night or two. And I said, okay, I appreciate how you feel. Just out of clarification, just to clarify my thinking, what are you thinking about over the next day or two? And they tell me. Then I say, is that the only thing that's preventing you from making a decision today? They say yes. Then I say, if I can show you something that may save you time and put more money in your pocket, would you reconsider? If I can show you, would you? If I can show you, would you? If I can show you something that may make sense, would you reconsider thinking a day or two? They say yes, great. Oh, by the way, in the isolation stage, if you say, is that the only thing that's preventing you from making a decision? And they say, no, you cannot, you cannot, you cannot go forward in the selling situation, the selling conversation. You got to go back because maybe I missed something along the way. Maybe there was some clarity that I didn't bring to the conversation. Step number 4 is to handle. Change feelings with verbiage and visuals. Change the feeling with verbiage and visual. So I never show you, I never tell you anything unless I can tell you and show you. I never tell you anything unless I can tell you and show you. So let me show you something, um, Miss Smith, that I think will help you make that decision. What are you going to show them? I'm going to bring out something. I'm going to show some stat on whatever their stall is. If their stall is they're thinking about money, if I'm selling staffing services and I know that you need help, right? Let me think about that. I'm not sure about that bill rate. Okay, so let me show you something I think will make a difference. And then I bring out maybe a tool that shows the cost of that employee being absent. If that person isn't there answering the phone, who answers the phone? Okay, write that number down. What are they paid? What do they get paid? So they're doing that job. Are they still doing their job? Yes. Okay. So now write down that. So there's money being spent here, and then you're spending money over here, right? And then at the end of the day, you show that, hey, listen, you are losing money by not hiring that person. I'm just giving you that as an example. You got to have the example or the tool or the visual that's relevant to your industry. Step number 5 is to close. Now, listen, many salespeople are okay with step 1 through 4, but when it gets to step 5, this is the difference between a 5-figure and a 6-figure lifestyle. This 5th step is the difference between a 5-figure and a 6-figure lifestyle. What do you mean, Rich? Because many salespeople that I've met, now I'm only basing this upon my experience, and I've been doing this a long time, and I've had the distinct honor and pleasure of working with over 15,000 people as it relates to selling. I've helped sales professionals amass more than $153 million. So I'm fairly confident when I say that the ability to close is the difference between a 5-figure lifestyle and a 6-figure lifestyle. Because many salespeople they wimp out, quite frankly, when it comes to asking for the signature. What in the heck are you thinking? Think about this, man. You spent whatever amount of time you spent marketing, making phone calls, email campaigns, making stopping past, dropping off information. You're here having this golden opportunity, this conversation, man, and you're not closing. Doesn't make sense. The close is really about getting a decision, not necessarily getting a signature. Get a decision. That makes all the difference in the world, doesn't it? Yes or no? Get a decision. Let me think about it. Okay. So listen, you sound like you're pretty set on thinking about it for a day or so. Um, I'll follow up Tuesday at 2 o'clock. Does that work for you? See, I'm getting a decision. I'm letting you know. I'm calling you back in 24 hours. My expectation is going to be a yes, if it gets to that. Cushion, question, isolate, handle, close. To me, is my number one favorite way of tool as it relates to um objection handling. Cushion, question, isolate, handle, close. One of my favorite tracks. I'm not script oriented, I'm process oriented. But you got to close. ABC, always be closing, always be caring, always be calm, and always be connected to the transaction. That's the ABC of selling. It's the ABC of selling. So I appreciate you taking about 30 minutes out of your time, 33 minutes or so from your afternoon to spend it on this call with me. I hope that the information that I share, you find value in it. I'd appreciate an opportunity to connect with you on Facebook, YouTube, at Momentum 100X on Facebook, Momentum 100X on YouTube, or you can email me at momentum100x@gmail.com. Love to have a conversation with you. Hey, listen, email me some of your successes. Email me some of your best closes. Let's create a living document of best closes around the world. How about that? So I thank you so much, friend. Remember, I'll see you at the top because the bottom is just too crowded. Now I'll never look down on anyone unless I'm looking down to give you a hand up. Believing that you can is way more profitable than believing that you can't. Thank you so much. I'll see you soon. Let's go out and crush it.